This is part 2 of the wickedness of the human heart. You know, there's a whole lot of people in our government today in America, and maybe even globally, that want to take a lot of information out of the library that could be pertinent or putting a permanent stain on their mission and agenda for New World Order. But get this, the scientific method of the global stock market was founded by Egyptian culture and currently being implemented through applied science to regulate the global markets today. You know, Hitler killed 30 million black Jews and mixed Jews during World War I, and he finished his mission during World War II. His genocide efforts, war efforts, that was financed by the America Wall Street. The 5 million plus that were identified as white Jews and murdered during Hitler and the Nazi campaign to find a secret weapon using various methods of inhumane treatment and horrific death of innocent civilians and Jews and blacks and homosexuals and lesbians and transgender types of people to promote their sick, demented way of life in which many of us are envisioning here today in America. Almost 3/4 of the 5 million Jews consists of dead soldiers who were stripped of their clothing and given homemade Jewish clothes and markings, while black Jews were burned and hung and used inhumane treatment on, but their bodies were disposed of with lethal chemicals. Black Jews were thrown into large holes, dug in the ground by other black Jews with heavy machinery, and afterwards murdered to protect the secret hiding place and the secret mission of the Nazi Germans. The Nuremberg Law was enacted in Germany years before the outbreak of World War II. Concentration camps were established in which inmates were subject to slave labor until they died of exhaustion or disease. Interracial couples, once again, homosexuals that were forced to wear pink triangles. Now we honor cancer victims by wearing pink bows. Clergy persons, disabled people, politicians, and the sterilization of black children was part of the Nazi mission. The Israeli government has begun a similar sterilization program of the black Ethiopian Jews in Israel who have ties and birthrights to the tribes of Israel. Mao Zedong, founder of the People's Republic of China, qualified as the greatest mass murderer in world history. An expert who has unprecedented access to the official Communist Party forwarded in 1958 in an effort to catch up with the economy of the Western world. Listen what he did. He was responsible for overseeing one of the worst catastrophes in world history has ever known. Mr. Decor, who has been studying Chinese rural history from 1958 to 1962, excuse me for butchering your name. When the nation says that when the nation was facing a famine, compared to the systematic torture, brutality, starvation, and killing of Chinese peasants to the Second World War in its magnitude, at least 45 million people were worked, starved, or beaten to death in China over these 4 years. The worldwide death toll of the Second World War was 55 million. Many global leaders still believe that it is much feasible to kill 1 or 5 billion people in order to bring the economy in line with the global inflation and the world economy. A prime example of this was Bosnia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, where millions of people died through genocides, false reported weapons of mass destruction, staged riots, assassinations, valuable resources, the stealing of valuable resources, and as reward of the conquest of Iraq, Afghanistan, and other native countries, a military inheritance was achieved. Get this, people. You have been bamboozled. You have been deceived and underhand using methods unknown to those who are alive, but yet known to those who are dead. Dug your hoodwinkle to confuse you through frustration or to throw you off from the truth about the history and existence of this wicked government or the wicked global government that is trying to take place throughout many different countries using force, fear, tactics, and confusion, and dropping dummy bombs on those people who once were woke up and raised up against their government. Wrongfully accused is my last point. King Minga was of African descent with known birthrights to the Sumerian dynasty of Egypt and founder of the island or cities surrounding Crete in Greece. It was populated by a Caucasian race with blue eyes and blonde hair. He was responsible for teaching them and giving them knowledge and tradition and culture of his own homeland, which we call Egypt. He is also responsible for the Greek early form of writing, according to the Homiletic age, from 1200 to 800 BC. But there is no proof of this date earlier than 800 BCE. The Greek alphabet is thought to be derived from the Phoenician, not Greek. A later in the European history helped create the cuneiform writing and Anglo-Saxon present-day language and alphabets in English and Latin. The Byzantine split with the Roman Catholicism came about when Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne king of the Franks, as Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD, who was called a barbarian because of the brutal force used to gain territorial power. From the Byzantine viewpoint, this was a slap in the face of the Eastern Emperor and the Byzantine Empire itself, an empire that had withstood barbarian invasions and upheld the faith for centuries. After Rome fell in 476 AD, the Byzantium was the only vestige of the Holy Roman Empire. On Christmas Day 800, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne, and the title, the Roman title of emperor was bestowed upon him. That's where the Roman come from. The name Roman come from. But the empire, like Charlemagne, was realistic, Germanic, being of German descendant or German root. In fact, it was considered the first German Reich. The first German Reich. The second stretched from the unification under Bismarck through World War I. And let's not get this into the third. Let's not get into the third one now. Charlemagne's successor and eventually ruled most of Central Europe, including modern day Germany, Poland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, the Low Country, parts of France, Italy, and more. Even Russia was a part of this empire, this huge empire of Charlemagne. Two dynasties stands out as rulers of Charlemagne Empire. The Hohenstaufens led the empire during the Crusades. Now, it's key about the type of torture and treatment and what went on during the Crusade War. Christians killing Christians, or were they really Christians, portraying themselves to be Christian. That's key. The Hohenstaufens, in fact, it was because of the Crusade that Frederick II dubbed his empire holy. Now, in the 13th dynasty, or century, I should say, moving right along, However, the Hohenstaufens were replaced by the Habsburgs, who were all over the throne of Europe for the next 800 years or so. In the process, they won the award for the most thoroughly inbred royal family ever. So people get this, you know, you can believe what you want to believe, but when it all boils down to what we call religion, it's what you have been taught versus what you have researched and learned that coincide with what you have been taught. Second of all, you got to understand something. If you didn't create the printing press, and if you don't own the rights to the printing press, then you're not really sure if what you have been taught is really factual or truthful information. Because if you really look at all the Bibles that have been printed in over 500 different languages, the wording changes, seems like every year that a new version comes out. So check your resources, check your information. Look at old texts from previous centuries or decades to the current text and see if it lines up. If not, then I believe you have a problem. You've been bamboozled. You've been bamboozled. So stick to the facts. You know what I mean? My next message will be about the Black Jesus. May God bless you and keep you.